George and Mildred, the beloved British sitcom of the 1970s, brought laughter to millions with its hilarious take on married life, nosy neighbors, and suburban struggles. But what happened to the unforgettable cast behind the chaos? Nearly 5 decades later, we revisit the stars who made the show iconic. Who is still with us today, and who has sadly left the spotlight? Join us as we explore the real-life stories of the George and Mildred cast, then and now. Some will surprise you, some will touch your heart. All will take you on a nostalgic journey back to classic British comedy. Uta Joyce portrayed Mildred Roper in George and Mildred, 1976 to 1979, when she was 49 years old. Mildred Roper is a woman in her early 50s, sharp-tongued, aspirational, and constantly embarrassed by her husband's working-class habits. Living in suburbia, she dreams of a more refined life, often attempting to impress their posh neighbor, Jeffrey Fourmile, with limited success. Despite her frequent sarcasm and dramatic expressions of frustration, there's a vulnerability behind Mildred's exterior, a woman trapped in a life far below her expectations. Yootha brought both biting humor and emotional depth to the role. Off-screen, she was known for her skill on stage and screen, often cast in comedic roles that required sharp timing and presence. Tragically, Uta Joyce died on August 24, 1980, just 4 days after her 53rd birthday. The cause of death was liver failure resulting from chronic alcoholism, a personal struggle that remained largely hidden from public view. Her untimely passing abruptly ended the series and left a lasting impact on British television history. Brian Murphy portrayed George Roper in George and Mildred, 1976 to 1979, when he was 44 years old. George Roper is a man in his early 50s, eternally unemployed, cheerfully ignorant, and wholly resistant to change. His days revolve around television, beer, and dodging his wife's disapproving glances. George is the classic layabout husband, stubborn, slow-witted, yet somehow endearing. His childish simplicity often clashes with Mildred's ambitions, creating the central comedic tension of the show. Brian Murphy's deadpan delivery and physical comedy made George unforgettable. Off-screen, Murphy was a seasoned theater actor who transitioned smoothly into television. He continued to act for decades, known for both comedy and drama. Brian Murphy passed away on February 2, 2025, at the age of 92, dying peacefully at home with family. As one of the last surviving cast members from the golden age of British sitcoms, his legacy endures not just through George and Mildred, but through a lifetime of performances that charmed generations. Norman Echley portrayed Jeffrey Fourmile in George and Mildred, 1976 to 1979, when he was 31 years old. Jeffrey Fourmile is a pompous, socially anxious estate agent in his 30s, determined to maintain respectability despite the chaos next door. Constantly horrified by the Ropers' working-class habits, Jeffrey provides a constant stream of disdain, snobbery, and wonderfully exaggerated reactions that fueled much of the show's humor. Norman Echley infused the role with a theatrical edge, capturing both Jeffrey's comic arrogance and his thinly veiled insecurity. Echley was already an accomplished actor by the time he joined the cast. Born on May 30, 1945, he was 31 when the show began, and as of 2025, he is 80 years old. Though he has retired from active performance, his work remains beloved by fans of classic British sitcoms. Norman Echley's portrayal of the perpetually flustered neighbor endures as a textbook example of sitcom antagonism done right. Roy Conir portrayed Jerry in George and Mildred, 1976, when he was 42 years old. Jerry is a cheerful, slightly shady friend of George Roper, often seen as a fellow layabout, always ready with a get-rich-quick scheme or a pint down the pub. He adds a layer of working-class camaraderie to the show, offering comic relief through his daft ideas and clueless optimism. Jerry lacks ambition, but his friendly demeanor makes him oddly likable. Roy Conir brought natural warmth and wit to the role, drawing on his extensive experience in British comedy. A beloved character actor, Conir was known for his expressive face and ability to make even the smallest roles memorable. Off-screen, he appeared in numerous films, including Willy Wonka and The Chocolate Factory, 1971, and several Carry-On films. Tragically, Roy Conir died on September 20th, 1988, at the age of 54, after falling from a horse while filming The Return of the Musketeers in Spain. He suffered a broken pelvis and later died from a heart attack caused by the injury. His death was widely mourned across the British acting community. Robert Raglin portrayed Brown in George and Mildred, 1978, when he was 69 years old. Mr. Brown is a minor but memorable character, typically seen in bureaucratic or official roles that highlight the drabness of British institutions. With his stiff posture and clipped delivery, Brown serves as the perfect straight man to the Ropers' chaos. Though he only appeared briefly, Robert Raglin's seasoned presence lent gravitas to even the most routine lines. Raglin was a well-established character actor by this time, known for playing colonels, judges, and civil servants in British film and TV throughout the 1950s to 1970s. Born on April 7, 1909, he frequently appeared in shows like Dad's Army and Z-Cars. His calm, authoritative tone made him a favorite for officialdom roles. Robert Raglin passed away on July 18, 1985, at the age of 76. The cause of death was not publicly disclosed, but he left behind a legacy of reliable, quietly brilliant supporting performances that peppered British screens for decades. Gretchen Franklin portrayed Mildred's mother in George and Mildred, 1976, when she was 65 years old. As Mildred's sharp-tongued and overbearing mother, she appears in select episodes, but leaves a strong impression. She is the classic domineering matriarch, critical, unimpressed by George, and constantly reminding Mildred of her failings. Her visits usually escalate tension in the Roper household, adding another layer of domestic comedy. Gretchen Franklin delivered the role with fierce energy and biting wit, portraying a woman who represents a past Mildred can't quite escape. Born on July 7, 1911, Franklin had a long and diverse career in theater and television. She was also a trained dancer and appeared in variety shows before moving into TV drama and sitcoms. Later in life, she gained renewed fame as Ethel Skinner in EastEnders. Gretchen Franklin died on July 11, 2005, just 4 days after her 94th birthday. She passed peacefully in her sleep. Her contribution to British television stretched across decades, and she remained a respected figure in the acting world until the end of her life. Paty Roland portrayed Burl in George and Mildred, 1979, when she was 48 years old. Burl is a guest character with the kind of comedic flair only someone like Paty Roland could deliver. Likely a nosy neighbor or meddling acquaintance, Burl's presence added another layer of suburban satire to the show. Roland was known for her portrayals of timid or flustered women caught in absurd situations, especially in the Carry-On film series. With her expressive face, impeccable timing, and soft, flustered delivery, she made even the smallest roles stand out. Born on January 19, 1931, Roland had a rich career on stage and screen, appearing in everything from farces to drama. Her unique blend of comedy and vulnerability made her a favorite of British audiences. Paty Roland passed away on January 22, 2005, just 3 days after her 74th birthday, following a battle with cancer. Though often cast in supporting roles, her contribution to British comedy was immense, and her work remains a touchstone of classic sitcom brilliance. Michael Robbins portrayed Alf in George and Mildred, 1979, when he was 49 years old. Alf is a minor but recognizable character, likely a pub regular or working-class acquaintance of George Roper. Robbins brought with him a well-earned reputation for playing grumpy, sarcastic husbands, most famously as Arthur Rudge in On the Buses. His appearance in George and Mildred continued that comedic tradition, delivering dry humor and frustrated retorts that fit perfectly within the show's domestic chaos. Born on November 14, 1930, Michael Robbins began his career in repertory theater and moved into film and television in the 1960s. He had a strong presence on both comedic and dramatic fronts, appearing in shows like Doctor Who, The Saint, and The Avengers. He passed away on December 11, 1992, at the age of 62. The cause of death was cancer. Robbins is remembered for his distinctive voice, sharp delivery, and ability to make even the grumpiest of characters strangely endearing to audiences. Anthony Sharp portrayed the headmaster in George and Mildred, 1976, when he was 61 years old. As the uptight headmaster in one episode, Anthony Sharp played the kind of elitist authority figure he was often cast as: cold, superior, and faintly ridiculous. His interactions, likely involving young Tristram Fourmile, served as a satirical nod to the British education system's class-conscious rigidity. Sharp's clipped voice and patrician demeanor made him ideal for such roles. Born on June 16, 1915, Anthony Sharp had a long career in theater, television, and film, often portraying aristocrats, vicars, or villains. He appeared in Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange and Barry Lyndon, as well as many British sitcoms and dramas. Despite often being cast in unsympathetic roles, he was widely respected for his precision and consistency. He died on July 23, 1984, at the age of 69. While the cause of death was not widely reported, his work remains a staple of British screen history, especially among fans of well-crafted supporting performance. Derek Deadman portrayed the cab driver in George and Mildred, 1977, when he was 37 years old. The cab driver, while a small role, allowed Derek Deadman to showcase his distinctive style: working class, slightly bewildered, and often caught in absurd situations. With just a few lines, he brought humor and life to the everyday characters who passed briefly through the Roper's world. Derek Deadman was known for his ability to steal scenes in minor roles thanks to his expressive face and gruff delivery. Born on March 11, 1940, he appeared in a wide range of British comedies, including Doctor Who, Porridge, and Never the Twain. International audiences may remember him as Tom the Innkeeper in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, 2001. He passed away on November 22, 2014, at the age of 74 from complications related to diabetes. Though never a leading man, Deadman was a quintessential British character actor, a familiar face whose performances added richness to every scene he entered. Reg Lie portrayed the father in George and Mildred, 1978, when he was 66 years old. In the role of the father, likely tied to a religious or ceremonial subplot, Reg Lie would have brought both gravitas and understated humor. Known for his expressive face and gravelly voice, Lie often played grumpy, down-to-earth authority figures or hard-nosed working men. Born on October 14, 1912, he began his career in Australia and moved into British film and television in the 1950s and 60s. His rugged charm and no-nonsense delivery made him a staple in war films, dramas, and comedies alike. He appeared in films such as The Wrong Arm of the Law and The Punch and Judy Man, often stealing scenes despite limited screen time. Reg Lie passed away on March 23, 1987, at the age of 74. While the cause of death was not widely publicized, he remained respected in both Australian and British acting circles for his versatility and authentic performances. His grounded presence made even the most minor roles feel real. John Lyons portrayed the barman in George and Mildred, 1976, when he was 33 years old. The barman, though a small role, plays an essential part in the sitcom's atmosphere, often serving as a quiet observer to George's pub ramblings or offering deadpan responses to the surrounding absurdity. John Lyons, with his calm demeanor and subtle wit, brought just the right balance of realism to the role. Born on September 14, 1943, Lyons was 33 at the time of his appearance and was already building a steady career in British television. He would later become best known for his long-running role as DS George Toulon in the ITV detective drama A Touch of Frost, where he played the loyal sidekick to David Jason's lead character. As of 2025, John Lyons is still alive and is 81 years old. Though he has largely stepped back from acting in recent years, he remains active in fan conventions and British television retrospectives. His work continues to be appreciated by generations of TV audiences. Jeremy Bullock portrayed Bill Albright in George and Mildred, 1978, when he was 33 years old. Bill Albright is a charming and neatly dressed character, likely appearing in a storyline that required a younger, more composed contrast to George Roper's shambolic presence. With his polite demeanor and effortless delivery, Jeremy Bullock brought subtle charisma to the role, even in a brief appearance. Best known globally for portraying Boba Fett in the original Star Wars trilogy, Bullock had a prolific career in British television, appearing in series such as Doctor Who, Robin of Sherwood, and The Newcomers. He had a natural screen presence that allowed him to shine even in minor roles. Born on February 16, 1945, Bullock remained active in film and fan conventions for decades. He passed away on December 17, 2020, at the age of 75 from complications related to Parkinson's disease. A kind and generous figure off-screen, Bullock was widely respected by both colleagues and fans, remembered for his humility as much as for his iconic helmeted role in cinema history. George Malpas portrayed Marvin Shoemaker in George and Mildred, 1978, when he was 51 years old. Marvin Shoemaker, with a name suggesting eccentricity, is likely one of the more curious and comedic side characters in the George and Mildred universe. Perhaps an oddball tenant, tradesman, or foreign visitor. George Malpas was known for playing quirky, sometimes bewildered older men with a spark of comic absurdity. With his expressive eyes and bemused expressions, he brought a distinct energy to his roles no matter how small. Born on November 1, 1926, Malpas worked steadily in British television and film, often cast as clerks, caretakers, or confused neighbors. He made appearances in The Sweeney, The Benny Hill Show, and Upstairs Downstairs. He passed away on February 26, 2001, at the age of 74. The specific cause of death was not publicly reported, but he left behind a career filled with memorable moments, especially in roles that blended pathos with light British humor, a hallmark of the era's best character actors. Peter Burl portrayed Charlie Roper in George and Mildred, 1979, when he was 44 years old. Charlie Roper, likely a brother or relative of George, fits neatly into the show's world of petty arguments and awkward family dynamics. His character may have been introduced to highlight George's background, adding context, rivalry, or absurd nostalgia to an already mismatched household. Peter Burl's delivery, often dry and sardonic, made him ideal for characters who felt at once familiar and quietly ridiculous. Born on July 19, 1935, Burl was a veteran character actor on British television, with credits in Doctor Who, The Bill, Bergerac, and many others. His soft-spoken but slightly aloof screen presence gave depth to minor roles. He passed away on June 23, 2004, at the age of 68, after a brief illness, though the specific cause was not widely publicized. His career, while low-key, left an impression on audiences who appreciated the subtle craft of character work in Britain's golden age of television. Lionel Mertton portrayed Lee Kennedy in George and Mildred, 1978, when he was 63 years old. Lee Kennedy is a smooth-talking, possibly American visitor, whose character brought an international twist to the suburban world of the Ropers. With his suave demeanor and polished accent, he likely stood out as both charming and mildly suspicious, perhaps a salesman, landlord, or someone passing through the neighborhood. Lionel Mertton, himself a Canadian-born actor who worked extensively in British film and television, was perfectly suited for such a role. His warm voice and slick delivery made him a frequent choice for roles that required American charm or corporate authority. Born on June 2, 1915, Mertton appeared in films like Lolita, 1962, Patton, 1970, and numerous British TV dramas. He passed away on September 26, 2006, at the age of 91. Though never a major star, he was widely respected for his consistency and professionalism across decades of work, especially in roles that required confidence with just a hint of underlying comedy or ambiguity. James Cosmo portrayed Keith in George and Mildred, 1977, when he was 29 years old. Keith is likely a younger character, perhaps a handyman, postman, or one of the many youthful faces that drift in and out of the Ropers' suburban lives. With his tall frame, gruff voice, and commanding presence, even at a young age, James Cosmo brought a physicality to the screen that made him memorable in every role. Born on May 24, 1948, Cosmo was 29 when he appeared in George and Mildred, early in what would become a long and highly successful career. He would go on to appear in films such as Braveheart, Trainspotting, The Chronicles of Narnia, and Troy, as well as gaining global recognition in Game of Thrones as Jorah Mormont. As of 2025, James Cosmo is 77 years old and remains active in both film and television, known for his stoic presence and rich, weathered voice. His brief appearance in George and Mildred is now a charming footnote in a storied international career. Who is your favorite character from George and Mildred? How do you feel knowing that some cast members are no longer with us? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications to stay updated. We appreciate your support and are glad to have you as part of our community.